I want to thank our reader and Gary Lynn Floyd and our CSL music team. It's such a wonderful time to have Christmas music and music that reminds us of love and light. This month of December, our theme is happiness and joy. And for our Christmas service, we're exploring living in and choosing joy. You know, the Christmas story begins not with ease and not with certainty, that's for sure. It was a young couple, a long journey, and no room for them at the end. And yet, joy was born anyway. In the Bible, Luke 2:10, we read, "Do not be afraid, for see, I am bringing you good news of great joy for all the people." Joy didn't arrive because conditions were perfect. Joy arrived because love showed up. This is the invitation this Christmas, to live in joy, not because life is easy, but because Spirit is present. And let me give you your question for this Christmas time. What is the one choice you might make today to cultivate peace as a pathway to joy, to make living in joy a spiritual choice, and to live your true purpose so you can stay in joy? One more time. What is the one choice you might make today to cultivate peace as a pathway to joy, to make living in joy a spiritual choice, and to live your true purpose to stay in joy? Let's go back in time to the baby Jesus in the manger. Certainly there were plenty of things that Mary and Joseph could have chosen to complain about. Yet what occurred was the birth of a master teacher of how to live in and choose joy. You know, some people know that Christmas joy is spiritual when they realize that the real miracle wasn't the virgin birth. It was getting the whole family together for Christmas and still loving each other afterward. That doesn't happen to be my experience, yet I hear often about that being the truth, that there are trials and tribulations with family time or time with in-laws. But the truth is, Jesus did not preach joy as superficial happiness. He embodied a joy rooted in connection with Spirit. In John 15:11, we read that Jesus said this, "These things I have spoken to you so that my joy may be in you and that your joy may be complete." Jesus brought joy by restoring dignity to the forgotten, healing without judgment, teaching love over fear, and demonstrating unity with God. And that's what the Christmas time is all about. Unity with God and spreading joy. A Course in Miracles reminds us, joy is the inevitable result of love. Jesus lived from love, and joy naturally followed. And in this season of light and love and joy, it's important for each of us to choose love through acceptance, through non-judgment, and by embracing the unity of all. Ernest Holmes told us, "Joy is the experience of knowing that we are one with the whole." You know, the Christ message is not about someday salvation. What we believe in this philosophy is that we do not need to be saved. We do need to live entirely as the unique person we're meant to be. life on this planet truly is about present moment joy through conscious living. How often have we heard to live in the present? I know that I say the past is gone, it unfolded perfectly, the future's not here yet. It is about living in the present. Mary and Joseph could have chosen to live in the hardship of the journey that they had to take, or that there being no place for them in the inn, but instead they chose to live in the joy of their beautiful baby boy. When Jesus was born, there is said to have been peace on earth. Cultivating peace is the pathway to joy. Take note that the angels didn't say something like, "Glory to God" in frantic schedules. In Luke 2:14, what the angels did say was peace on earth, goodwill to all. Peace is not passive. It is a practice. Catherine Economou taught us, peace is not the absence of challenge, but the presence of trust. You know, when we cultivate peace, we release the need to control, we let go of old resentments, and we choose comparisons over reaction. Lao Tzu reminded us, if you are at peace, you are living in the present. And joy only lives in the present. So let's look at a spiritual practice to help us live in peace so that we can truly find our joy. I call it the peace pause. When you're feeling triggered or your joy and peace seem to have been stolen by someone or some event, try this. Pause. Take one conscious breath and silently say, peace first, joy follows. I love that. Peace first, joy follows. You know, the night Jesus was born wasn't a joyful one by any standards. Mary was exhausted, Joseph was worried, and the road had been a long way. The doors had been closed. The world did not seem especially welcoming. There weren't any soft linens. There was no warm fire, and there was no certainty about what would come next. Only a borrowed stable and the quiet breath of animals. Yet something remarkable happened in that humble space. Mary looked at the child in her arms and felt a peace that made no sense given the circumstances. Perhaps the fear did not vanish, but it loosened its grip. Joseph, though still uncertain, felt a steady calm rise within him, and in that moment, neither of them could control the world, but they could choose how to meet that moment. They chose trust, they chose presence, they chose joy. Not the loud joy of celebration, the deep joy that comes from knowing that you are exactly where you're meant to be. I bet all of us have felt that at some point. And outside, shepherds were tending their flocks, unaware that history was shifting. Their lives were ordinary. Their work was not glamorous by any means, and yet joy found them as well. Not because their situation had changed, rather because they were willing to listen when heaven whispered hope. that night, joy did not arrive because everything was perfect. Joy arrived because hearts were open. And still today, the Christ is born whenever we choose love over fear, or peace over panic, or purpose over despair. Joy is born each time we say, "Here, God is with me." Even here, God is with me. Christmas reminds us that joy is not something we wait for once things or life improves. It's something we choose right where we are. So, do you want to choose joy? You know, joy is not denial, it's discernment. Choosing joy is not pretending that everything is fine. It's not bypassing pain or grief or disappointment. Choosing joy is actually a spiritual decision, a conscious alignment with truth rather than circumstance. In every moment, we're choosing how we interpret our lives. We may not always choose what happens to us, but we always have a choice of how we hold it, how we meet it, what meaning we assign to it. Jesus consistently modeled this kind of choice. Even when misunderstood, rejected, or challenged, he chose love over fear. He chose trust over despair and purpose over resentment. And that is what he modeled for each of us. That's why his life radiated joy, not because it was easy, but because it was aligned. In Psalm 118:24, the Bible reminds us of this. "This is a day that the Lord has made. Let us rejoice and be glad in it." Notice the language there. Let us. Rejoicing is an invitation, not an obligation. It's something that we participate in. We choose to participate in. A Course in Miracles offers a powerful reframe of that. I choose joy instead of this. You know, that statement does not deny what we're feeling. It simply declares that fear and worry and resentment don't get the final word. It's a reminder that beneath every upset is an option, a higher perspective. Joy is a choice that we make again and again, especially when life tempts us towards fear or worry. You know, Ernest Holmes told us, we can choose thoughts that heal and bless, or thoughts that wound and destroy. I know I'd much rather choose thoughts that heal and bless, and while I'm not perfect at that, I believe that blessing rather than wounding others is certainly a more peaceful and joyful way to live. Joy, then, begins as a thought choice. When we repeatedly choose thoughts rooted in gratitude and compassion and trust, joy becomes a habit of consciousness. Jonathan Parker beautifully stated, "Joy is not the absence of pain, but the presence of purpose." When we remember why we're here, which is to love and grow and express spirit, joy naturally rises, even in imperfect circumstances. When was the last time that you actually thought about the essence of who you are and rebirthed that essence so that you might live in joy? When was the last time that you thought about something that would be a great adventure in your life and that might help you grow? Choosing joy means releasing the belief that joy must be earned. The Christmas story tells us that joy arrived freely, wrapped in vulnerability, placed in a manger. If joy could be born there, it certainly can be born anywhere. In hospital rooms, in moments of grief, in seasons of change. Our great master teacher chose joy even on the road to the cross. That is the depth of Christmas joy. So here's a spiritual practice that might help you remember to choose joy. I call it the joy choice. When joy seems to be hiding from you, perhaps because something unsettling happens, pause. Name what you're feeling without including judgment. And then gently ask yourself, what would joy choose right now? Finally, take one small action aligned with peace, kindness, or truth. We just got through saying that peace and kindness and truth lead us to joy. And joy often does not enter through grand gestures, but through small, faithful choices. Choosing joy doesn't mean we never feel sorrow. It means sorrow doesn't define us. Joy becomes the deeper current that carries us forward. And I truthfully can say that that has been the truth in my life. In John 14:27, Jesus taught us this: peace I leave with you, my peace I give to you. Peace is the soil, the root, where joy is the fruit. So here's another spiritual practice you might want to try. I call it joy inventory. Reflect or write down your answers to these questions. What drains my joy? What restores my joy? Where am I saying yes when my soul is saying no? And just notice how your joy level changes as you decide to do more of what restores your joy and less of what drains it, as well as staying true to yourself by saying yes only to those things that your soul says yes to, not to something that you feel is a necessity. In the Bible, Luke 2:49, Jesus told us this: I must be about my Father's business. Now, Jesus was our master teacher. This was him living his true purpose on earth. Purpose brings joy because it aligns us with who we truly are. As Ernest Holmes put it, when the soul finds itself, joy naturally follows. And Catherine Economou added, you are most alive when you are most authentic. All of these messages are messages that joy flows when we're living honestly, when we express our gifts, and when we serve from love and not from obligation. And Christmas reminds us that every soul has a divine assignment. We can spend a lifetime determining that divine assignment, or we can discover what brings us joy and know that that's most likely the true purpose for us to find happiness and joy on earth. For me, it's ministry. What might it be for you? Find your divine assignment and joy flows naturally through your life. I know that for a fact. Ministry has brought me oodles and oodles of joy. So as you go about your Father's business, as you live your true purpose for being here on earth, I'm knowing that that purpose illuminates your path. And may the joy announced by angels be awakened in your heart. Let peace guide your choices. And remember, joy is not something you wait for. It's something that you live. And so in summary, how might you learn to live in and choose joy, especially this holiday season and in the coming year? Well, cultivate peace as a pathway to joy. Jesus lived from love, and joy naturally followed. Joy only lives in the present. Choose joy as a spiritual decision. Choose love over fear, and joy shows up. Let go of that worry and resentment, and joy shows up. Make joy your choice, even when you're tempted by upsets or by worry. And live your true purpose to stay in joy. Know that every soul has a divine assignment, uniquely determined to them. Purpose is joyful as you are aligned with who you are. So go about your Father's business to find joy. And your affirmation for the week? How is it I so willingly, energetically, and effortlessly cultivate peace as a pathway to joy? Make living in joy a spiritual practice, and live my true purpose to stay in joy. Make a conscious choice to live in and choose joy. Spend this week doing something about your Father's business, finding your purpose, and living in the joy that that brings. And as always, I ask you to commit to some spiritual practice that will enhance your ability to live in and choose joy. Have a fabulous Christmas day. Let's pray. Holy loving presence, our source of light, love, and joy. On this sacred celebration of Christmas, we pause to remember that joy is the essence of the divine. And also, joy is God's gift to us, as well as our calling. As children of the divine, we are joy expressing. We are one with the light that was born into the world through the Christ child. A light that still shines within each heart, gathered together, gathered in our family gatherings. I give thanks for the joy that does not depend on circumstances, the joy that rises from knowing that we are never separate from God. When our lives feel crowded like the inn, let us remind ourselves that Christ is still being born in unexpected places. What I know to be the truth is that we have each had the courage to choose joy even when the road is uncertain, or when grief visits, even when fear tries desperately to speak louder than love. We can each remember joy is not denial, it's devotion. It's not escape, it's embodiment of the essence of the divine. I know that Christ is planting peace deeply within us, and that peace settles our anxious thoughts, softens our judgments, and guides our words. That peace becomes a blessing to our families, to our communities, to our world. And when there is conflict, we become instruments of calm. Where there's weariness, I know that we each can carry gentle hope. I know that each of us is awakening to our true purpose, living honestly, loving generously, and serving faithfully. And when we forget who we are, we're reminded we are beloved expressions of the divine, created to shine, created to bless, created to rejoice. So may the joy that was announced by the angels long ago rise up in us today, and may we move our hands in kindness and our voices in compassion, and may we make choices in wisdom to live in joy. And as we leave this gathering today, or our gathering on Christmas Day, may we each carry Christmas with us, not just for this season, but in every moment. Let our lives proclaim the good news that joy is alive, that love is present, and that peace on earth is definitely possible. I know that each of us heard something today that reminds us to walk forward, knowing our true purpose and living in and choosing joy. The joy that is already within us, guiding us, lifting us, empowering us. We walk forward from this moment with open hearts, willing spirits, and the unshakable knowing that we can live in and choose joy in each and every moment. I see each of us being an embodiment of divine love, the love that guides our steps through wisdom, that fills our days with gentleness and vision. And I see each of us rooted in peace, lifted by love, and choosing joy. Choosing today to live in the divine assignment that is the truth of our being, and knowing all that we are and all that we might become, rest in that purpose. I'm grateful for each person who chose to spend time with us today. Grateful we can go forth today with joy and courage and an open heart, knowing we are guided to be the Christ that is within us. And it's from great gratitude and with joy, bliss, and blessings that I release these words into the divine yes, knowing they're already done, and knowing that I can say amen, and we can affirm it together. And so it is. And in this Christmas season of giving, I do hope that you remember the Center for Spiritual Living in Southeast Louisiana and make an extra special donation and bring us at this center more joy for being able to do more of the things that we would love to be doing. Thank you very much. Enjoy our offertory song.